Welcome back. I'm sorry I've been away for so long. I know a lot of you have been asking me where the videos are. So both me and Matt were ill for a week and we were just dead for the whole week. And coming back.
For months, millions watched Mat Armstrong fight what looked impossible. A crashed Bugatti, a locked VIN, one of the biggest automotive companies in the world standing in his way. But while the internet focused on the car, almost nobody noticed what was happening behind the scenes. Because this project didn't just push Matt to his limits, it quietly pushed his relationship into one of the hardest periods of their lives. Now, after staying silent through all the chaos, Hannah Smith has finally opened up about what the Bugatti rebuild really cost them emotionally. Not the money, not the fame. The real cost behind closed doors. While Matt was in Miami trying to rebuild a machine the world said could never be repaired outside Bugatti itself, Hannah was left holding everything together back home alone. The business, the pressure, the nonstop attention. The internet saw the viral moments. They saw the headlines. They saw the engine finally start. But they never saw the nights where everything felt like it was falling apart. And once you hear what Hannah finally admitted about those months, you may never look at this Bugatti story the same way again. It all started with one phone call that completely changed Mat Armstrong's life. Back in late 2025, a Bugatti Chiron Sport worth millions was involved in a devastating crash in Miami. The damage was so severe that many people believed the car would never drive again. Insurance companies reportedly looked at the repair costs and immediately backed away. The numbers were insane. Parts alone were rumored to cost more than most luxury homes. The car was eventually sent to salvage, which is usually where stories like this end. But instead of walking away, Mat Armstrong did the exact opposite. He agreed to take on the rebuild that almost nobody else wanted to touch. And the moment that decision became public, the internet exploded. Some people called him fearless. Others said he was completely out of his depth. Automotive forums, YouTube channels, and social media pages all started debating the same question. Had Matt just risked his entire reputation for one impossible project? But while viewers were focused on the car itself, something else was already beginning to happen behind the scenes. Because the second Matt committed to that Bugatti, his normal life with Hannah started changing in ways neither of them could fully predict. And that was only the beginning. The situation became even more intense once Bugatti itself entered the story. Almost immediately, reports started spreading that the car's VIN had been locked, meaning official dealerships would no longer provide the parts needed for the rebuild. That changed everything. What started as a difficult repair suddenly became a public battle between a YouTuber and one of the most exclusive automotive brands in the world. Then came the moment that shocked the internet even more. Mate Rimac publicly addressed the rebuild online. The comments exploded overnight. Some people supported Matt completely, calling him a genius for refusing to quit. Others accused him of chasing attention and risking disaster on a car that should have gone back to Bugatti's own factory. Every upload suddenly carried enormous pressure. Millions of people were watching every move, waiting to see whether Matt would prove everyone wrong or fail publicly in front of the entire internet. And while all of this chaos was happening online, Hannah was quietly dealing with a completely different kind of pressure behind closed doors. While Matt spent long periods in Miami focused entirely on the Bugatti, Hannah was left running almost everything back home alone. Most viewers had no idea how much responsibility suddenly landed on her shoulders. She was managing the business operations, handling merchandise, helping keep the content schedule moving, and trying to maintain some sense of normal life while the entire internet focused on Matt's rebuild. But according to people close to the situation, the emotional side became even harder than the workload itself. For months, their relationship revolved around one overwhelming project. Different time zones, constant pressure, endless uncertainty about whether the rebuild would even work. And all while millions of strangers online judged every update in real time. The hardest part was that Hannah stayed almost completely silent through all of it. While criticism flooded the internet and debates around Matt grew bigger every week, she quietly carried the stress behind the scenes without publicly complaining. And eventually, the pressure started affecting far more than just the project itself. As the Bugatti rebuild became bigger online, the pressure on Matt reportedly became impossible to ignore. Every upload brought millions of views, but it also brought criticism, doubt, and non-stop scrutiny from people waiting for him to fail. Some viewers claimed he was destroying his own reputation by taking on a project this risky. Others argued that rebuilding a Bugatti outside the factory was reckless in the first place. And according to fans following the situation closely, the negativity slowly started wearing Matt down behind the scenes. Hannah reportedly saw the side of him the audience never did. The exhausted version after filming stopped, the frustration when parts didn't arrive, the stress when another obstacle appeared right after solving the last one. Because this was no longer just a YouTube project, Matt's entire reputation was attached to whether this rebuild succeeded or collapsed publicly in front of millions of people. And eventually, even Hannah started questioning how much more pressure they could realistically take. That is when Hannah finally revealed the part of the story viewers never truly understood. According to her, there were moments where the Bugatti project completely consumed their lives emotionally. The distance between them became harder. Conversations revolved around problems, delays, pressure, and public attention. Instead of enjoying the success they had built together over the years, everything suddenly centered around one impossible challenge. And while viewers saw exciting updates online, Hannah was privately dealing with fear that the project could leave permanent damage behind emotionally. She admitted there were moments where she wondered if the cost was becoming too high. Not financially, but mentally and personally. Because when someone you love carries extreme pressure every single day, eventually the people around them carry it too. The internet only saw a man rebuilding a hypercar. Hannah saw someone trying to carry the expectations of millions while refusing to quit, no matter how difficult things became. But after months of setbacks and emotional exhaustion, a moment finally arrived that changed everything. After months of setbacks, delays, and public doubt, Matt finally reached the moment almost nobody believed would happen. Instead of giving up, he found new ways around every obstacle standing in his path. With official support limited, the rebuild reportedly relied on custom fabrication, advanced scanning technology, and countless hours solving problems most mechanics would never face in their lifetime. Slowly, the impossible started becoming real. Then came the moment that changed the entire story. The Bugatti's engine finally started again. For viewers, it was a viral internet moment. But for Hannah, it reportedly felt completely different. After months of stress, distance, fear, and non-stop pressure, hearing that engine fire was emotional relief, exploding all at once. According to people close to the situation, Hannah became overwhelmed with emotion because the moment represented far more than a repaired car. It meant Matt had survived the pressure that almost broke everything around him. But even after the victory, the emotional weight of the project didn't disappear overnight. As the rebuild moved closer to completion, fans slowly started realizing this story was never really just about a Bugatti. It became a story about sacrifice, pressure, and the hidden costs behind massive online success. Millions of people watched Matt fighting impossible odds on camera, but Hannah was quietly fighting a different battle behind the scenes, trying to hold together their relationship, business, and normal life while the entire internet focused on one project. That is why her silence for so long made her eventual honesty hit even harder. She wasn't attacking Matt, she wasn't blaming the car or complaining about the attention. Instead, she revealed the emotional reality of standing beside someone completely consumed by an impossible goal. And for many viewers, that changed the way they saw Mat Armstrong forever. Because behind every huge public victory, there is usually someone carrying the emotional weight nobody else notices. And in this story, that person was Hannah. In the end, the most emotional part of this entire story was not the rebuilt Bugatti itself. It was what Hannah finally admitted after everything they went through together. Despite the pressure, the loneliness, the stress, and the emotional exhaustion, she said she would still stand beside Matt through all of it again. Because according to Hannah, the experience reminded her who Matt truly is when the world tells him something cannot be done. She revealed that what makes Matt different is not just his mechanical skill or his success online. It is the fact that he refuses to quit, even when the pressure becomes overwhelming and the odds look impossible. And hearing that completely changed how many fans viewed this entire saga. The Bugatti stopped being just a car project. It became proof of what obsession, sacrifice, loyalty, and determination can cost behind closed doors. But after everything that happened, many viewers are now asking the same question. If another project this massive came along tomorrow, would the emotional price be worth paying all over again? At first, this looked like a story about rebuilding one of the world's most expensive hypercars, but by the end, it became something far more personal and far more emotional than most viewers expected. Behind the headlines, the viral clips, and the millions of views was a relationship being pushed to its absolute limit by pressure most people could never imagine. And while Mat Armstrong became the public face of the challenge, Hannah quietly carried much of the emotional weight behind the scenes without ever asking for attention. That is why her silence mattered so much. Because when she finally spoke, viewers realized the real story was never only about the Bugatti itself. It was about sacrifice, about long nights, emotional distance, nonstop pressure, and the hidden cost of chasing something the entire world tells you is impossible. It was about what happens to the people standing beside someone who refuses to quit, no matter how difficult things become. And maybe that is why this story connected with so many people online. Because underneath the supercars and the headlines was something deeply human. Two people trying to survive the pressure of a dream that became bigger than either of them expected. In the end, Mat may have rebuilt the Bugatti, but Hannah's honesty revealed the emotional scars that came with it. And honestly, that may be the most heartbreaking part of this entire saga.